Alright, g'day, hi and welcome. Okay, well, it's that time. The 1 year review of my Mark Holcomb. Unfortunately, I don't got a lot of good light here to do this. It's winter time, so obviously when it's winter time, it's always dark. So we have to use incandescent lights. But what you're looking at here is the PRS SE SVN 7 Mark Holcomb 7-string that I've now had for approximately a year. I know it was February, it's February 1st at the making of this video. I know it was February when I bought the, we'll have Elvis in the background here. There's the king right there. I'm just trying to find a spot where I can get a better view of this and whatever. So what we're going to talk about is basically ownership of this guitar for 1 year. But before I do, I got to get me a chair. Now I know what I'll do. I'll just put it up. I'll do the so I want to get, you know, as nice the colors on this as I can. But this is going to be just a talking review, just so you know. But anybody thinking about buying a 7-string and you're not sure whether this is the right one for you, especially if you're like me and you didn't get to try it before you buy it. Now, in general, that looks so badass against the mess of boogie. I just got to move all this. Yesterday I was playing this this beast of a guitar. As you could tell, cables everywhere. It's like, oh, they're all intertwined and whatever. But anyway, I was playing it through the Mesa Cab and the Hot Rod Deluxe, which with the Zoom G2 pedal, which this was the first time I used the G2 pedal. So anyway, let's put it to you this way. You're looking for a 7-string. You need something, obviously, that's going to stay in tune. You need something that's not too bad to play. You definitely need something that, you know, is going to, you know, be reasonable in price, right? But you don't want a beginner guitar, right? Let's say this is your third guitar or something like that. Now, for those of you who are just want to dabble in it to see if you're going to like it, but you never really see yourself down the road playing, you know, a 7-string for any real length of time or anything like that. Well, the thing I would say is that you can go with cheaper options for sure. But for those of you that are more, you know, you've been playing for a long time. If you want to use the term pro, that's fine. You know, people debate what pro means, whatever. But you're a player that you don't play your cheap guitars. You play your good guitars. And it's not really a price thing, but the guitars that play the best is the ones you play. So if you buy a cheap guitar, you know, you're just going to, you know, after a month or two, it'll, you know, the fat will wear off and you'll just put it aside. Which will not inspire you to create. It will not inspire you to do those things with the guitar that you wouldn't normally strive to do. You know, like, and really push your limits. So let's start with the specs. So obviously I got the extremely long Mark Holcomb title out of the way, but what you got here is a mahogany body with a maple cap with a flamed Mark Holcomb purple burst. And they do vary from guitar. There's no two guitars alike in that sense. It has two Seymour Duncan Alpha and Omega pickups. Alpha in the at the beginning in the bridge, and Omega at the end in the neck. Ow. Don't put your elbow on a chord. Oh, that hurt. Oh. You have a volume, a tone with a push-pull pot. And these little speed knobs, these are very, very nice pots. 3-way selector. Pretty simple, 24 frets with a maple neck. neck through construction. I don't know if there's any graphite rods or anything in this neck, but it does have a pretty beefy C-shaped neck with a very fine wet sanded. The smoothest neck I've ever played on any guitars in my life has been these Mark Holcomb guitars. Natural finish necks don't even come close to this. This is the slippiest ever. What they wet sanded it with, I don't know. The binding, you cannot, if you close your eyes, you don't even know it's there. Like, you can't feel the frets, you can't feel the binding. The whole way down, like, there's no fret sprout whatsoever. The quality of this neck is beyond. It's one of the most comfy C shapes. It is thicker because it's a 7-string, whatever. It needs to be a bit beefy, right? Obviously, it's a string through body construction. It has the nice heel joint pocket, which is kind of clever of Paul Reed Smith. Rather than trying to mold a fancy heel joint, it's just like, let's just take it away. You know, so basically, you can see where my pinky is there. Like, I'm on an oddball angle, but the fret access on this guitar is superb. So for you lead players, it's kind of what you're looking for. Obviously, it's a double cut ebony fingerboard with the seagulls and hawk inlay. PRS tuners, base model tuners. You can see there's the headstock there, so we'll have a look at the base model tuners. In the black gold, you got a good size. These are strap locks, but they don't come with the actual pin. But I don't think you really need strap locks, to be honest with you, unless you're swinging the guitar around your head. If you want to see where the jack is just on the side here. There's the other button there. And it's a hefty guitar. It's not the heaviest. Believe it or not, my Holcomb 6-string seems heavier. I haven't weighed it. Can't tell you what it weighs. Don't really care. It's not that heavy. You know, it's not Les Paul heavy. It's somewhere close to it, but it is heavier. It's not like an Alder body guitar or a Poplar or an Akuma body guitar where it's like featherweight. It's you know, you feel like you're putting on a machine, you know. The string gauge is 10 to 62. Yes, these are the original strings on it. And last but not least, it's I believe a hip shot style bridge, but it's basically made, the 6-string's slightly different, but it also looks like a regular PRS tremolo saddle, but it basically, you know, they've got obviously the tremolo part, and it's a 7-string. They've got it kind of filed down certain ways. So extremely comfortable bridge, full adjustment on not only the length of the string, but also on the height, much like a Strat or any other PRS, whatever. So in that sense, very, 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 very cool. The action is still on a factory setup with 24 jumbo frets. I do believe they're just nickel frets. I don't think they're stainless steel, but maybe that's where I'll start. The fretwork on this guitar is phenomenal. It's really, really good. It's about as good as a guitar can get. It's not dressed frets to the point like a Gibson, but it seems pretty phenomenal. Every note rings out perfectly. That's one thing you get between cheap guitars and expensive guitars is buzzing and note ring out. This guitar barely buzzes at all. The notes are so clean on this. Now, my sloppy playing notwithstanding, if you get somebody that's not a sloppy player, this guitar will be as clean as you can possibly play. Which, for recording, I've done lots of recording with it. It records well. It is a powerhouse of a sound coming out of this guitar. Very aggressive. It's almost overkill. Some people complain about the Alpha and Omega pickups just being really harsh. The way they're designed is they have a kind of bit of a neutral top end, and like the low end and the mid are kind of neutral. And the top end is a little bit, brighter for clarity. It allows the guitar to handle effects really, really well. So it's more of a neutral on the mid. So it's not like this really high aggressive cut through on the mid. But that said, because the pickups are something like 15, 16K ohms coming out of them. That's a lot. That's a really hot signal going into your amp. So, for example, going straight into my Hot Rod Deluxe, I go in the lower dB jack that goes 6 dB lower, just to make it tolerable going through that. But it really will work best not straight through the amp. For you guys that want to play straight through the amp, you're probably better off with the, once you get above, I think, like 10K, 12K, a lot of those pickups tend to start to sound harsh until you compress them. So meaning, pedal distortions that, like my Dimebag Darrell pedal, for example, would be a good example of like outrageous distortion. Something that really compresses. Or if you have an amp that you could take the dBs down, on the mids or on the low or whatever. That said, very full sounding guitar. The cleans are really good. When you do split the coils, you get this coil and this coil. It's the way Mark Holcomb wanted it. So it's not this and this like a telly. It's the two inner, right? Which gives you kind of, what I would have probably done myself is this one and this one to give you like that number 4 position on a telly or on a Strat. I think that's kind of my more favorite. But, this is what he played around with, and it's what he came up with, and it's what he liked the best. That said, it does sound really good. In single coil mode, when you're doing a solo in the neck position, it sounds almost like you're playing on the middle pickup rather than on the neck pickup. But it sounds pretty close. Like like I say, it would sound a little bit more decent here in the solo mode. But I think he was really thinking